Good afternoon, and thank you everyone for spending the last part of your day with us. My name is Eric Scott, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for MDM Commercial, one of DCC Technology North America's pro tech businesses. Today, I have the honor of helping lead the mental health ERG and men's mental wellness and support network, along with some of other amazing colleagues at Almo and JAM. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to put a spotlight on some of the great initiatives the Men's Mental Wellness and Support Network has led this week in honor of International Men's Day, which occurred yesterday, from Wear Blue Day to the Walk and Talk Challenge that we promoted earlier in the week, to yesterday's very impactful panel discussion, which featured colleagues throughout JAM and Almo, to the conversations and resources we've shared across the organization. The goal has been simple: raise awareness, encourage honesty, and create space for support. I encourage everyone, whether you're a man seeking support or just an ally of the cause, to join us. I'll be able to share information in the chat on how you can join us, and there will also be an email sent out recapping the week's events with that information. Today, we're incredibly fortunate to be joined by Dave Callan, someone whose background is as deep as it is diverse. Dave is a leadership and performance coach with more than 2 decades of experience operating at the highest levels of global sport and business. His career includes C-suite and senior leadership roles at Manchester United, Team Sky, Ineos, and Travel Counselors, where he worked alongside world-class athletes, CEOs, and performance specialists. What makes Dave's work so impactful is the blend of elite coaching, lived experience, and commercial pragmatism he brings to every conversation. He believes peak performance in any area of life is built on a strong foundation, which includes a healthy lifestyle, deep self-awareness, and the courage to be vulnerable. Dave's coaching is grounded in 3 core pillars: mindset, lifestyle, and career leadership. And he's known for a bold, honest approach that challenges people to raise their standards without sacrificing their well-being or sense of self. His On-To philosophy, which focuses on the point where presence meets progress, is woven through everything he teaches. Today, he's here to help us examine the roles we default to in our lives, understand how those cycles take shape, and explore how we can consciously break patterns that no longer serve us. Dave, we're thrilled to have you here with us, and thank you for leading us through this conversation. And the floor is yours.
What a warm welcome, Eric. What a warm welcome. And thank you so much for that kind introduction. And it's an absolute pleasure and a privilege to be here with you guys today. I believe most of the audience is at least in North America. I'm dialing into this call from Manchester in the UK. So it's absolutely freezing outside. And it's coming up to 9 p.m. But I'm delighted to be here. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to run through some content with you guys. So just bear with me 1 second while I just get this show on the road. Okay, Eric, you jump in if there is an issue with my screen share. I can't see anybody now. I can just see myself. So thank you for the introduction, Eric. As Eric said, I'm a C-suite executive. I'm a former chief marketing officer myself, now a performance coach and a mentor. And after spending a long career working inside some of those elite teams that Eric mentioned in sports and in business, I now help ambitious leaders themselves and some business owners as well build mindset, build identity, and also build structure they need to get their edge back so they can perform at work, at home, and in their health. And when we talk about health, of course, it's not just about physical health. We all have mental health as well, and we spend more time in our own heads than we spend anywhere else. Okay, and I'm aware that this session is part of the support network that DCC put on for you guys. And really, this is for everybody. Okay, this is for everybody. So before we crack into the content today, I just want you to make sure that your volume is up, sit back, relax, have a listen to the lyrics, watch the video. It's only a couple of minutes long. and enjoy. And we'll be right back with you.
Stop watching TV. Life is simple. If you're looking for the love of your life, stop. They won't be waiting for you when you start doing things you love. Stop overanalyzing. Life is simple. If you don't like something, change it. If you don't like your job, quit. If you don't have enough time, stop watching TV. Life is simple.
Now, obviously from North America, some of the people on the call might actually recognize that festival. That's actually one on my bucket list. But actually, it wasn't about the festival, it was about the track. And I absolutely love that track. And we're going to come back to the reasons why shortly. But in the meantime, just a proper introduction to me. So I am a performance coach and a mentor. I'm ICF accredited. I'm a former executive leader, as I said, a chief marketing officer. I've worked in sports, in financial services, in travel. I have an MBA. I'm a business owner now. I've done Ironman triathlons, ultra marathons, which I'm going to come on to later. I'm a husband, a dad. I'm a cockapoo owner as well. But to be honest with you, that would be the CV that I was going to present to you if I was here just to try and impress you. I'm not here to try and impress you today. I'm just here to share, to be open, to be honest, to be vulnerable, and hopefully to do Eric and Vish, who invited me on this call, proud by giving you at least one valuable takeaway today. Okay, and I'm guaranteed that I will do that if you bear with me. I promise that I will give you one valuable takeaway. And I'm sure there's lots of people on this call who have received presentations or written presentations, and there's always an appendix, right? There is always an appendix, and really it's the stuff in the appendix that people don't want you to see. That's where things get hidden away. But it's only really when you read the appendix that you get the true narrative of anything. So here is mine, okay? This is the real Dave, okay? So I've suffered from all these things. I know that it's mental health week this week, and you know I've had these issues throughout my life: self-doubt, anxiety, poor habits. I suffered terribly from weight gain and weight loss over the years, stress, victimhood, grief, self-sabotage, fear, vulnerability, this thing that we all call imposter syndrome as well. That's language that gets used quite a lot in the modern world, right? However, you know, today's not about that. Today's about how we can address some of these issues and use our mindset and accountability to make sure that when we are suffering from these things, that we are taking ownership and we're able to come out of the other side. Okay. If you want the picture version of my CV, that's the polished version of it, and that's the appendix where and that is a picture of me, by the way, in my boxer shorts. So I'm going to skip on the slide quite quickly. Anyway, back to the track that I chose earlier. I chose that track for a simple reason. There's two killer lines in it which really, really stand out. Life is simple, and change it. And really, that's one of the philosophies that I like to bring to my coaching. It's something that I bring to my coaching when I talk about mindset, and also when I talk about performance as well. And really, as we go through the content today, when we go through this session, and I share with you the model that I'm going to go into, I want you to onboard the belief that simplicity is actually a performance attribute. Okay. Anchor yourselves in that belief as we go through this, because people tend to overcomplicate things when we talk about mindset, when we talk about our mental health, when we talk about performance. They can be bamboozled by some of the language that gets used. So keep things simple, and remember that simplicity in everything is a performance attribute. Okay. And usually when we overcomplicate things, that's when we tend to get stuck. Okay. Now, before we proceed into this presentation, we should agree on a few things. You might be thinking, agree what, Dave? Well, whatever part of the business that you're in, you're here to exist, to help people and the business grow and to progress. Okay, I took this from one of the websites within the group, but if you look at any of the group websites, there are philosophies that talk about people, that talk about business, and talk about growth. And as a result of that, you're all individuals who are unlocking new levels of performance. Okay, whether you're just starting out in your career, whether you've been in a business for 15, 20 years, in order to grow and to progress, you're unlocking new levels of performance. You're challenging yourself. Okay, you're challenging yourself to do something different, something that you're not currently capable of. Challenge is a feature of performance. Okay, and change is a feature of challenge as well. So to succeed in any challenge, you have to change. You have to adapt. You have to transcend. Sometimes you even have to transform. Okay, so change is a feature of challenge, and unfortunately for us all, with change comes conflict. Okay, conflict is a feature of change, but humans don't like the feeling of change, whether it's self-conflict or conflict with others. Sometimes that makes us feel, it brings those feelings of anxiety and stress, and emotion comes up. Okay, so conflict is a feature of change, unfortunately, and drama is a feature of conflict. Okay, so if you're unlocking new levels of performance, if you're helping the business grow, if you want to grow as an individual, you're going to be faced with these challenges. You're going to be faced with drama. Okay, it's going to happen. And that is the precursor to the model that I want to share with you today. The model that I'm going to share with you today is called the drama triangle. Okay, and it's a model that talks about human behavior. It's evidence-based. It's from an old psychologist called Stephen Karpman. Okay, and this is based on thousands of hours of study of human behavior. And it's a model developed that proves that quite often in life, when we are going through difficult moments or when we're going through growth or change, we spend a lot of time stuck in an emotional loop of behavior. Okay, and it proves that a significant amount of the time, as a result of that, we as humans are operating, unfortunately, in a dysfunctional way. Okay, this is driven by what we call the limbic system. Okay, so those on the call who may have studied neuroscience or know a little bit about the evolution of humanity will know that the limbic system is where your emotional drives come from. Okay, and the reality is that when we are challenged, when we're going through growth, we as individuals tend to default into one of three roles. I'm going to go into those roles shortly, so just bear with me for a moment, okay? Usually we also have an emotional home as well. So one of these three roles tends to be our default position as individuals, and we tend to reside there as our safe space. Okay, and the roles themselves can be interchangeable. They can be interchangeable. So if you find yourself taking on one role, you can quite easily transfer into another role and vice versa. And it can, unfortunately, affect our mental health if we don't recognize this. Okay, and as a result, it can also affect our physical health as well. And it can play out over weeks, it can play out over months, and unfortunately, if we don't recognize it, it can even play out over years. And the thing with all of this is there is no positive outcome. Okay, this is one of those models that once you see it, you can't unsee it. Okay, you will recognize this in terms of behavior in yourself, in other people, in loved ones, and I'm going to share that model with you now. Okay, so this happens when we're going through challenge, change, growth, or uncertainty. The three roles that we tend to default into, remember, all these are emotionally driven and focus on the problem. So if you're in a challenge situation or you're going through growth or uncertainty, usually there's a problem to solve. Okay, the first role is the victim, and these are mindsets, by the way. They're not fixed personalities, they're mindsets. So the first mindset that we can fall into is the victim. Okay, poor me. I can't believe that I have to do this. This is a joke. How have I ended up in this situation? If you ever catch yourself saying that, how have I ended up in this situation? That's a signal that you might be taking on that victim mindset. Okay, it's a huge red flag. Okay, the second role that is likely to show up in the drama triangle when you're going through challenges is the rescuer. Okay, so you've got a victim, which is poor me. The rescue is poor you. Okay, someone who tries to rescue that victim. Don't worry about it. It will all work itself out. I'm here to help. On the surface, it looks really, really supportive. But actually, underneath, it's born out of avoidance disguised as kindness. So this is around dependency, not accountability. Okay, so poor me, poor you, and you end up in this loop of behavior back and forth between a victim and a rescuer. The third role is the persecutor. Okay, the language that they might use, this is ridiculous. This is a complete mess that I find myself in. Or in a team environment, if people just did what they were supposed to do, things would be okay. So it's almost like an aggressive style, aggressive self-talk and aggressive communication. I'm going to give you some examples. There might be some parents on the call. I'm also a parent. I've got two beautiful young kids, and I coach a football team, an under 12s football team, or a soccer team, you might call in the US. And this happens all the time. When you're playing sports or you've got kids, quite often we're in emotionally driven and problem focused mindsets. The kids are as well. Okay, so this happens a lot when I'm coaching football. Victim mindset. Nobody ever passes me the ball. Okay, I'm not taking responsibility for this, but nobody passes me the ball, Dad. The rescue might come in, and these could be parents, by the way. Oh, but you're so good at football. That's really mean. They should really be passing you the ball. There's no solution there at all. It's just agreeing with the victim. Poor you. The persecutor might come in. This could be the other parent or another coach on the team. Well, I bet you didn't shout loud enough for it, did you? And then you end up in this loop of emotionally driven behavior with no solution. Nobody passes me the ball. Well, that's not very nice, is it? Well, I bet you didn't shout for it. No solution. Okay. What about in commercial roles or in leaders? It shows up all the time in teams environments as well, especially if you're going through change and growth. And the market is usually a big part of the conversation in business, right? So if the market changes, we're never going to hit market. We're never going to hit target in this market. I'm absolutely powerless. I'm a victim of market demands or market changing. The rescuer, I know there's nothing we can really do about it, is there? Do you fancy a coffee? And then you end up just talking about how bad the market is for half an hour on your lunch. No solution. You might have a meeting with a persecutor. This is the third month in a row now. No one's pulling their weight. So once again, you end up in that emotional loop of behavior, which is just focused on the problem. Okay, I coach a lot of people, a lot of leaders around their career as well. And this shows up when people are going through career transition. I'm trapped, completely trapped in this role. There's no way out. My family rely on me. The rescuer, you should be so proud, though. You're providing for your loved ones. Persecutor, well, I did tell you that once you went down this route, that was it, you'd be stuck. So the victim just stays there, stuck in this vicious cycle, which is problem focused and all driven by that limbic system, driven by emotion. Final example I'm going to share with you. And this is classic when businesses go through change. I worked in private equity owned businesses for a long time. Okay, leadership under lots of pressure to deliver fast growth, cost savings, integration. Okay, and some people will be the victim to that. We've lost all control. The investors are calling the shots. We just have to deliver what they want. This is all happening to me. I've got no control over this. I'm going into victim mindset. Okay, the rescuer might come in. Let's not stress, team. I'll stay late, I'll pick up the slack, I'll smooth things over, trying to rescue the situation, but not giving the victim any accountability or empowerment to do anything about it. The persecutor might come in. You should have seen this coming. You agreed the deal. Now we have to deal with the pressure. Okay, so again, we're in that emotionally driven cycle of behavior and language that is fully focused on the problem. Okay, so I'm just going to recap on those roles. The victim, why always me? Poor me. These things always happen to me. They feel helpless, feel oppressed by others. They seek the rescuer for comfort, has no hope. They feel like they've got low self-worth and finds a problem to most solutions. Okay, when I say feels helpless, it says PPP on the slide there. They use language that is pervasive, that is personal and permanent. Okay, so if I catch myself saying things like, I always screw things up, everything goes to shit, and it's never going to change. I always, okay, so that's pervasive language. Everything goes wrong, pervasive language. It's never going to change, permanent, and it's about me. Okay, so that's a victim mindset that I might be in. Okay, the rescuer on the other hand tries to fix all the problems. They feel guilty when they can't help each other. They can be a martyr or seek. They see others as being helpless as well. Keep the victim dependent on them. They put their self-worth actually in helping others, and they can be an enabler to this drama triangle that we find ourselves in. Okay, they can overwork themselves in trying to help others, but in actual fact, there is no solution being found. Okay, because this is still emotionally driven and it's problem focused. The persecutor, sometimes these mindsets can be instilled in senior roles, leadership roles in business, because sometimes you get aggression. There's a term that we use in the UK, and excuse my language, but some people say that shit rolls downhill, which basically means if you get persecuted from above, then you tend to persecute the people below you in a hierarchical sense. Okay, so it can be aggressive in delivery, passes judgment at will, argumentative maybe in communication style, points the finger at others. Okay, so it's about blame. It's not about pulling the thumb at yourself. It's about blaming others, dictates their way, rigid in their thinking, driven by often their own insecurity. Okay, might describe themselves as bossy. Okay, and I love this quote because the point to this presentation is that there is a way out of this. The first thing that we have to do is recognize that it happens. It happens to us all. It happens to me on a daily basis. I find myself in the drama triangle. I'm a parent, so it happens in my house every single day. Okay, the thing is raising our awareness and taking accountability. Okay, and just because people are fueled by drama does not mean to say that you have to attend the performance. Okay, just because some people are fueled by the drama does not mean that you have to attend to the performance. Okay, so we have to move from being emotionally driven and problem focused by taking accountability, okay, by owning it, being resilient, taking accountability, and shifting to rationally engaged, outcome focused mindset. Okay, so we have to raise our levels of awareness, understand what roles we are playing, take accountability for the roles that we see in ourselves and the roles that we see in others, and make sure that we move that dynamic to be rationally engaged and outcome focused. Okay, and if we can do that, then we can unlock the inverse of the drama triangle. So this is the empowerment dynamic. Okay, and these are where the three roles that I shared with you earlier, the victim, the rescuer, and the persecutor transform into different roles. Okay, so the persecutor becomes the challenger. I will challenge you with care. Okay, I'm not going to persecute you for making mistakes, but I'm going to or persecute you for being a victim. I'm going to challenge you with care. Okay, the coach. So the rescuer becomes a coach. I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to press you and question you on your own assumptions. So the challenger might say, is that true? The coach might ask great questions. What can you do? What are your options? What options do you have? And through challenging with care and coaching and asking great questions, the victim all of a sudden can become a creator. Okay, all of a sudden the victim is a creator. I'm no longer a victim of these circumstances. I feel empowered, and I understand that the circumstances that I find myself in have been a direct result of my actions and behaviors. Okay, and now I'm empowered to change. Okay, so the challenger replaces the persecutor. They bring truth without blame. They hold others accountable in a healthy way. Their power comes from calm, confidence, and unshakable because their goal is all around growth. Okay, they'll call you out in a healthy way. They will listen actively, focused, calm, emotionally intelligent. Okay, the coach replaces the rescuer. So instead of saving the situation and trying to fix everything, they create space for others to find their own solution. Okay, it's a huge amount of empathy, but without getting too over involved trying to fix everything. They're curious, logical, okay, empowering as opposed to fixing, non-judgmental, positive, focused, logical thinking. So instead of relying on that limbic system of their brain, they're engaging the rational part of their brain. Can be inspiring. Okay, and as a result, the creator obviously replaces the victim, shifting from why me, why is this happening to me, to what can I do about this situation, taking full ownership, staying optimistic, and focusing on the solution over the stories. Okay, so hopeful, open-minded, solution-focused, challenging themselves and accepting that we all have shortcomings, but taking accountability and being empowered to change it and being forgiving. And all these roles, by the way, in the empowerment dynamic have to show vulnerability. Okay, so there's 6 roles there. And, I remember these playing out all the time when I was working. They play out, as I said earlier, daily for me. I remember one story. I used to work in a elite level professional cycling team who won the Tour de France many times. And our sponsor had pulled out, Team Sky. Comcast, they got bought out by Comcast, a big American. Sky were bought by Comcast, a big American media company, who you'll all be familiar with. And post the takeover, Comcast decided to pull the sponsorship of Team Sky. That was about 7 days before the team were planning on flying out to a training camp in Mallorca to plan for the season ahead. And I was amongst probably 4 people who knew that this was going to be the last season racing as Team Sky because the sponsor was pulling out. And we had to address the whole team, the athletes, the staff, coaches, riders, senior leaders. Nobody knew what we were about to drop. And as soon as you drop that message in front of everybody, it was like the drama triangle in 4D. You could see what was happening. Some people got angry, some people were frustrated at leadership, some people were pointing fingers, others were looking for someone to blame. Some people were completely paralyzed by it. Some were trying to fix it immediately. Others were staying rational, trying to hold space. And the room was just completely emotionally driven. Some of it was starting to become rationally engaged, but it was just a cauldron of emotion. The point is that no one is wrong in that situation. It is human. No one is wrong. There is no right or wrong in any of this. If you are playing one of the roles in the drama triangle, you are being human. Okay, your emotions are taking over. It's fine. It's normal. It happens to us all. Okay, the quality is when you can recognize it and how quickly you can recognize it and how quickly you can move yourself and move others by taking accountability to become more empowered about your behavior. Okay, so just remember that. Remember, there is no right, there is no wrong. It's just being human. Okay, so there's 6 roles, and I can't see I can't see anyone as I'm presenting this because I can only see myself, which is a bit odd. I would normally ask a question at this point, but hypothetically, I'm going to ask anyway. So the six roles. I want you to guess how many people you think it takes to play out this dynamic. Okay, you might be thinking it takes 6 because there's 6 different roles. You might be thinking it takes 3. It might be a victim. There might be a rescuer. There might also be a persecutor. But actually, it only takes 1. Okay, the drama triangle can be us on our own. We spend more time. I know this is about mental health. We spend more time in our heads than anywhere else. We suffer more in imagination than we do in real life. Okay, you don't need to be in a room full of people for this to play out. You don't even need to be in a room of 3 people for this to play out. You just need yourself, because quite often the drama triangle is playing out in our own heads. Okay, the self-talk, how we communicate to ourselves internally, is one of the most important ways that we communicate, full stop. I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation that I not only am a performance coach, I also am an endurance sports athlete. I'm going to show you a video in a minute. So last year I ran through the desert in Namibia, 250 kilometers over 5 days, and it was up to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. A brutally challenging event. The reason I did that event is because it helps me drill the skill around mindset, and it forces you to think about your own self-talk, your own motivation. How am I going to get to from A to B? It forces discomfort. I'm going to share with you now a short video. This was a selfie video that I did at the end of the 3rd day. So I think well over 100 kilometers into the race. The reason I'm going to show you this video is because it links back to some of the roles that I've just discussed. Morning of day 4.
David, turn your audio up, would you?
Over to the space to record this video. It's a stunning camp that we've got last night after stage 3. This is where the elephants have been roaming around, apparently around 2k from where we are. We haven't seen any. But to be honest with you, if I'd have seen an elephant yesterday, I wouldn't have given a shit. It was getting progressively harder, I would say, the race. So yesterday was a 42k stage with 16k at the start, which was like running on a beach. So really challenging on the muscles. Obviously the blisters are truly kicking in now. All my feet are just covered in blisters. So the sand was just energy sapping all morning. And then the heat just hit us in between checkpoint 2 and 3. And there was this ridiculous climb in this open space, no wind. It got up to over 40 degrees heat. And yeah, there was a few casualties, let's say. And that was probably the hardest 2 runs that I've ever done. That first 16k and then the second run to checkpoint 3 were probably the 2 hardest runs I've ever done. Today is a shorter stage, 22k. But the stage is starting a bit later in the day. So we've been starting at 8 o'clock. We're starting at 11:30 today. So you get the benefit of a bit more time in the morning to sort your admin out. But we're going to be running at the hottest part of the day. It's all going to be in heat, no respite. Because there's a bit of an oxymoron really with the starting point. So on a normal stage, because it's cooler in the morning, you tend to want to go out faster to benefit from that coolness. But obviously by doing that, you can leave yourself on the arse for the final half of the day. Whereas today, we're starting in the heat, so I don't know what my strategy is today, actually. My feet are absolutely fucking ruined. I'm just limping around camp, which has happened the last 3 days. But after a bit of walking, you get used to the pain. And sometimes as well, yesterday I found that a slow run was less painful on my blisters than a walk. But obviously then when you're running, your body temperature's going up and everything else is hurting. So see how I get on today. I think if I can get through today in a better condition than I finished yesterday, I'll be happy. Because yesterday I didn't say anything for probably an hour and a half after I finished. I was totally empty.
more optimistic about today because just with it shorter. And if I can get back in a decent enough time, I'll just get some rest. Just rest the whole time, ready for a 4 a.m. start tomorrow for the long stage. A few more DNFs yesterday as well. So yeah, that's us now for now. Forgot to mention that yesterday we also got smashed in camp by a tornado. So it's nice.
So if you're ever wondering what role you might be witnessing or what role you're in, just monitor language. Okay, monitor the language of yourself, monitor language of others, because that gives you a clue as to what emotional state you might be in. Okay, so some of the language I was using in that video, there was a little bit of victim mentality mindset coming in, hardish, challenging, energy sapping, limping. I've been limping all morning, that pervasive language. My feet are covered in blisters. This is all happening to me. So a little bit of victim mentality was coming in, but then I flipped it a little bit and started to think about, coach myself, self-talk into being the creator. Yeah, I use word like strategy, less painful, get through it, optimistic, decent time, rest up. Okay, and then this was me the following day. Okay, so this was me the following day, having woken up, I think at 4 a.m. to do the 92-kilometer day was the final day. So this was the final day, and this is the self-talk that goes on. So this is just an example of how the drama triangle plays out when you're on your own, in your own head, and when you're talking to yourself. This was me. Dave, you idiot. Why did you think you could do this? Who do you even think you are? That self-talk, that was me persecuting myself. Okay, and then it changed up. Why am I the only one with infections in my blisters? This would only ever happen to me. It's relentless. This event is ridiculous. So I've gone from persecuting myself to being a victim. Okay. And then it loops back again. Yeah, you're so unlucky. You've done so well. I mean, you've already done the majority of it, so you may as well stop now. That'd be cool. Most people wouldn't even get to the start line. Rescuer. None of them are focused on the solution, which is for me to get to the finish line. Emotionally driven, problem focused self-talk. Okay. And I had to stop it. Otherwise, I would not have finished that race. 100% I wouldn't have finished that race. So how do we get to that? We take accountability. Okay. Recognize what's happening, take accountability, and start becoming rationally engaged and outcome focused. So the self-talk changes. Stop. You're hot, you're stressed, you're in pain and you're beating yourself up. You're losing twice. Stop and compose yourself. All of a sudden, one question from a challenger perspective can reframe everything. Okay? Stop, compose yourself. This physical pain is not going anywhere. What can you control? Great question. What can you control? How can you deal with it better? Another great question. How can you frame things differently? All of a sudden, you start to coach yourself. Okay, you've challenged yourself in a positive way. You're coaching yourself. And then all of a sudden, you become that creator. I can try a different approach here. This is not working. You only have to lose once. That can work. You can, you will, you must. Creator. Okay, so just sharing that with you as an example as to how recognizing when you're playing the victim, or recognizing when you're in in that emotional loop of behavior, by challenging yourself or challenging others in a positive way, or coaching yourself or coaching others in a caring way, can all of a sudden completely flip your mindset. Okay, and you move from being a victim to being a creator. And that's the reason I'm able to show you that picture today. That's me at the finish line. The reason I love that picture is because that's from the race organizer's social media account, who posted that picture just after I'd finished the finish line. The reason I like it is because the first like on there, Amanda J. Callan, is my wife, and she was following me via social media, because obviously I had no signal in the middle of the desert. And for those that are squeamish, I'd suggest that you either look away now or look, turn my camera off somehow, because I'm just going to show you the pain that I went through to get to the finish line, and how powerful it is if you can get yourself out of that victim mentality. If you become focused on the solution, get into the finish line. Your finish line could be anything. It doesn't have to be an ultra marathon. It could be a meeting. Yeah, it could be getting through to the next quarter. It could be hitting the next target. But if you focus on it, you can get there. This was my feat after the race. Horrific. I ended up I was in a wheelchair going back to the UK from Namibia. That was my feet after they'd healed. The blisters that I had, I was carrying through that final day were really horrific. But just by reframing from getting myself out of that victim mentality and becoming a creator, I was able to continue to move forward. Okay, so just a reminder, the 6 roles, they're all mindsets. They're all mindsets, so they're a choice. Okay, people talk about mindset and mental health quite often. It's very nebulous. It can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people, which is cool. But just remember this: mindset it's a choice. It's a mental attitude. It's a choice around how we respond, which means it's empowering. Okay, if you onboard that belief that mindset is a choice, it's a mental attitude that determines how we respond. Okay, attitude is a choice. How we respond is a choice. So by taking accountability, okay, we can always choose to be creators, be challengers, and be coaches. I'm going to leave you with one final word. If you've got a notepad or a pen, or even a phone with notes in it, I want you just to write down 3 questions. Okay, you don't have to answer these now. Maybe write them down, reflect on them when you get home this evening. But this will help you for sure. Write down number 1. Where is my emotional home when things get hard? Okay. What do you tend to do when things get hard? Do you persecute? I used to persecute often. I used to be the victim as well, to be honest with you, and I've been the rescuer. But ask yourself, where is my emotional home when things get hard? Because everyone's got one. Also ask yourself, who in my world do I keep rescuing? That's a really, really great question, because a lot of people don't need rescuing. They need to be challenged, or they need to be coached in a positive way. If we keep on rescuing people who've got that victim mentality, you're not helping them. You're not helping them. The most helpful and caring thing that we can do quite often is coach, ask great questions, and challenge with care. Okay, so who in your world do you keep rescuing? And the third question, how can I finish this year in creator mode? Okay, so I started this presentation by hopefully giving you something, promising to give you something of value. Hopefully you've enjoyed the content, but even if you just answer those 3 questions, it will give you something to move forward in a positive way. It'll force you to think about how you can become more empowered yourself in terms of your own personal leadership, but equally help your teams as well. Okay, so I'm just going to say thank you. You can find me, my website address is there if you wanted to have a look around. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now because can't see anyone's face at the minute. So hopefully I'll be back in the room in a second. Eric, am I handing back over to you?
Yeah, I just we'll just kind of wrap it up. But and if there are any questions in the chat, feel free to if anyone wants to share it. But wow, very powerful stuff, Dave. And I think yeah, I think that message really probably touched a lot of us. And just again, putting your mind really can play a lot of tricks on you, but it's all about getting in the right mindset and staying focused, eyes on the finish line, doing what you can, to get through those challenges. And again, being the creator. I loved that message.
Absolutely. And, I think that the one of the points here, Eric, to reiterate is there's no right or wrong. So we all find ourselves in that victim mindset all the time. It happens to everybody. Doesn't mean to say you're failing at all. Just means that you're human. And an unfortunate feature of being human is that we are all in some way, shape, or form dysfunctional. Okay, it's just the nature of it, and the unlock around a lot of this when we talk about mindset and performance and how we can improve our own mental health and well-being. The very, very first stage of it all is just raising that level of awareness. Okay, raising the level of awareness so you understand what is happening in your mind, and you can then intervene. It's really scary when you think about how many people are walking around outside with no education or no knowledge of how they operate as humans. And part of my message to get across to my clients and to everybody on this call is that by educating ourselves around how we operate is the first level of raising awareness to helping us intervene and help improve our own mental health, improve our own well-being, and ultimately improve our own performance as well as a result.
Absolutely. Yeah, gosh, I couldn't agree more. And like you said, there's no right or wrong, right? We all have different journeys, right? But what I always say is just, at the end of the day, eyes on the prize, but we're all going to get there. It's just going to take, different paths, right? Um, but Dave, thank you again so much for your time in this powerful presentation. I think so many takeaways for all of us. No matter what journey you are in life or the challenges you're going through. But again, I just wanted to wrap this up with thanking everyone for joining us today. I hope you really got a lot out of it as I did, and again and I say all that on behalf of the Mental Health ERG and Men's Mental Wellness and Support Network. Again, a great week of initiatives, and thank you all for helping us raise awareness and really showing kindness to each other and just picking each other up. I think that's very important, and no matter what, we're all here for each other. And as I mentioned, as I kicked off the call, look out for an email with, in case you missed anything this week, for a recap of everything that went on this week. And the panel discussion yesterday is available on YouTube, and I believe we're going to make that available in Biz Library. And I think we've recorded this session, so we'll see about making this available as well. But again, and then one important point that Vish mentioned in the chat, we will, when we do post this, please be sure to give it a share. It expands Dave's reach and helps with his brand. He did this out of his own kindness pro bono. And so we are so incredibly appreciative of his time, and that certainly helps spread his message.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Great. Thank you all.